The Pirelli GT4 America season is coming down to the wire with just 3 races remaining in the 2022 calendar. Despite a heartbreaking final lap yesterday, RS1's Eric Filgaris and Stephen McAleer find themselves with a 40-point advantage in the silver class over Conquest Racing's Gavin Sanders and Mackay Stevens, who scored an improbable second win of the season in race 1. The Pro-Am class is still up for grabs with 5 lineups in the hunt, while the member world pairing of James Clay and Charlie Postins locked down the Am class title 3 races early with their 7th win of the season. Hello everyone, welcome to Sebring International Raceway. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside. Amanda Busick is in the pit lane. And Calvin, I'd like to start today at the finish of yesterday. What a wild final lap we saw.
It really was. It looked like McAleer and Filgaris were going to head off for another victory, dominated the race, and then suddenly had an issue exiting the final corner. That opened up the door for Conquest to grab that win, tighten up this championship, and now sits at a 40-point spread. But today, the RS1 team start from the pole, and at the opposite end of the spectrum and the grid sits Conquest, so they have a lot of work to do to keep this championship alive. They have to somehow get in there and keep that spread within 50 points before we head to Indianapolis.
Exactly. They did not set a time in Q2 yesterday, which set the grid for the race today. Speaking of the starting grid, you can look on the screen for your favorite team, driver, and or manufacturer. It is a massive field of GT4 cars that yesterday put on a memorable show, that's for sure. A couple of different races coming down to the final corner of the final lap. It was fascinating and thrilling stuff, and Sebring tends to bring that out. It is a remarkable track, unique in so many aspects. 3.74 miles in length, 17 turns, and bumpy as all get out. This is the site of the former Hendricks Field Army Air Corps Air Base. And much of the pavement around this place has been here since the 1950s or before, when it was converted into a racetrack through the vision of one Alec Ullman, who wanted to replicate some of the great road racing going on in Europe at tracks like Le Mans and Spa, and picked out this site as a promising place to do exactly that. And boy, he was right, because 70 years later, this is a classic in sports car racing.
It is.
Not just here in the States.
Yeah, I love this circuit. I mean, it's so challenging. I mean, it says respect the bumps, which is obviously a big part of the equation in terms of getting around this circuit, having a car that will work over the bumps a little bit better than your competitor. But love the flowing nature of it, the demanding corners, 17 and turn 1. I feel are 2 of the most challenging corners you'll find anywhere in North America for different reasons. But and then the rest of the circuit just opens itself to good overtaking opportunities. We always seem to see exciting racing here.
One thing about it, no elevation change to speak of, but it makes up for that. Normally you'd say a flat track, well, does it have any character? Yeah, this place has character.
There's a little bit of nuance to it when you get in that back section with a little bit of camber, particularly going through Tower Corner and areas of the racetrack like that. But everyone getting stacked up here, ready to go. Exactly
so. The lights off on the safety car. The field still coming into alignment down the Ullman Straight, and starting on the pole will be the RS1 team that has dominated the championship to this point, looking to put that title away with a strong race here today. Stephen McAleer and Eric Filgaris sharing that number 18 Cayman that is on the pole position. It's the Pro-Am pole-sitting car alongside, with Jason Hart starting things here today. He and Scott Noble in the title hunt for Pro-Am. Here's the green flag. Look at that. 5 wide already, just a couple feet past the start-finish line.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was JCD out to the outside there. Someone made a big move, suddenly went 5-6 wide, as you said. That was the 51 car, actually. That was Anderson who made that bold move out there. Oh, it was a spin. That's James Clay, the championship winner from yesterday in the M class.
Oh, with some damage showing up there at the bottom of the screen as well. The BMW of Rob Walker and Alex Filsinger. They were on the podium yesterday in the AM class.
Up front, Filgaris from the pole. Excuse me, McAleer from the pole, trying to make a statement here. Jason Hart looks to the inside.
It was 3 wide through Big Bend. Somehow they sorted themselves out. McAleer able to hang on to that top spot, but Jason Hart chasing him down. 2 of the top Cayman teams in the country, RS1 and NOLA Sport, at the very front of this field, leading their respective classes.
Then Aaron Thielitz aboard that Toyota Supra. Andy Lee off a brilliant runner-up finish yesterday. Very competitive here this weekend. Then Kenton Cook.
And Alex Prema, let's remember him. He had the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race yesterday in race number 1 in a brand new program for GMG, looking stout once again.
Look how tight this field is here. Trying to work together. Oh, a little bit of argy-bargy. I think that may be Sanders there trying to make his way through in the Conquest machine. Dust is flying coming out of Tower Corner there.
Gavin will know time is of the essence. This is a sprint race at 1 hour in length. There is a pit window in the middle. That's Prema on the attack, working on Anderson. Anderson forced to go beyond the curbs there. We saw the stewards give warnings for that in the past. I'm sure he'll say I was forced out there.
Yeah, let's do that once and they'll maybe stop scoring him, but I like what he's doing there. Said, no problem, I'll just aim for the apex of 16 from where I'm at.
The format, if you're new to Pirelli GT4 America, 60 minutes, 2 drivers, mandatory pit stop between 35 and 25 minutes remaining. No tire changes, no refueling, just the driver swap. And today, in race 2 of the weekend, in the Pro-Am class, it's the pros starting these cars. The AMs will have to take it home.
Jason Hart behind the wheel of the Noble Sport entry there, running in P2. I think there's a little bit of friction between those top Porsche teams as well, so everyone wants to be top dog, so Hart is keeping the pressure here on McAleer, who has the lead right now, and has the lead in silver, of course, at the same time.
The big winner on that first lap was Anderson, who jumped up 3 positions to 7th and 2nd in the silver class. Prema, the big loser, he started up in the 5th spot overall, now runs 8th.
Settling in here a little bit. These Pirelli tires will now be up to pressure. Temperature shouldn't be a big issue here with the heat that was struggling through here this weekend at Sebring. McAleer, they know the pressure's on. They've had a couple of bad races. They DNF'd at Road America with a mechanical breakage. Then they ran out something here yesterday. Initially, we thought it was fuel and didn't really get confirmation of that, but either way, they lost the win late yesterday. They need to get back on the horse here.
Yeah, early indications were it was something mechanical for them in the final turn on the final lap that cost them the class win. Oh, we got debris in the middle of the track there. Everyone has to scramble to avoid it. Oh, big hop over the curb. That was Elliott Skier in the Premier Racing Porsche.
It's pretty wild there. It looks pretty lightweight, whatever piece it is, but it's not being blown out of the way. The car's skimming by it there. It looks like it's maybe an inner fender or something out of one of these race cars.
This is the championship-winning car in the AM class. James Clay and Charlie Postins, they locked it down yesterday.
Left rear, maybe?
Yep. Not had many days like this year.
He got tagged there down in turn 1 or got into someone himself. Either way, looks like a left rear issue as McAleer now up front stretching that gap. Breaking the draft here a little bit for Jason Hart as well at the same time. Telix looks comfortable in P3.
That he does. Todd Coleman had a good stint yesterday before handing it over to Aaron. This is the B Sport Racing car, Kenton Cook. And he has passed Andy Lee on this lap. That is for 3rd in the Pro-Am class. So Lee, who came within 1/10 of a second of winning in the Pro-Am category yesterday, drops a spot to the fellow Aston Martin team B Sport Racing. Kenton Cook making his way forward.
Yeah, and they're tied for 3rd with Tom Capizzi and John Capestro Babets. 26 points back of the leaders in the class, however. Right now it's a tie in P1 with De Noble and Hart tied with Adelson and Skier.
There is Andy Lee. Elias Sabo is co-driver. He picked up his first win in SRO America earlier today in the single driver GT America powered by AWS championship race. So he'll be driving with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, he'll be sitting behind the wheel smelling champagne if he's in the same driver's suit.
That's right. Couldn't celebrate too hard though with this race not long after his first race of the day wrapped up.
McAleer fastest lap by half a second over the rest of the field. They're 2:13.4 compared to Jason Hart's 2:13.9. But as you can see, that piece of debris literally stuck to the racetrack. Now it moves a little bit.
Couple of updates. First on the Conquest car, Gavin Sanders has moved up to 19th overall from the back of this 31 car grid in the first less than 8 minutes, 6 minutes really, of this race. Still, though, running towards the back of the silver class.
5th in silver right now.
Right. The leader in silver is also the leader overall. This is Stephen McAleer, and Amanda Busick has more on them.
Well, as you guys mentioned, they cruised to that second place finish yesterday here in the silver class. What can you tell us of the mechanical issue that was happening with the car?
Yeah, it looked like it was a part failure in the fuel pump, so can't make this stuff up. It was kind of like a movie coming right around the last corner, and Steven just had to coast it right to second place. So it's our first second place all year. It's not where we're used to or what we wanted, but it makes it a little bit more exciting for the championship. He's out front right now, and our main competitor, which is the 34 car, had a bad qualifying yesterday. So, you know, it's to our advantage right now, and it's about closing it out. We've had such a great season. This Community Beer Works Rent Sport 1 car has been amazing, so it's looking good right now, and we'll try to keep it that way.
You need an 11-point delta to wrap that up here today. What is your gut telling you?
Sorry, say that again.
What is your gut telling you?
Yeah, I think if we just do our job the way we know how to, we control what we can, or focus on what we can control. We can't control where the other car finishes, so it's about maximizing our performance and making sure that we execute. It's what it's always been.
And the update, by the way, on the 34, the Conquest car that Gavin Sanders has started here today, had to start at the back. Evidently, some kind of an engine issue cost them Q2 yesterday. The team declined to go into more specifics, but Sanders doing his best to recover from that poor starting position.
Yeah, just really re-evaluating that point spread. They have a 40-point margin between the RS1 car that leads right now with McAleer up front and the 34 machine. So if the RS1 team was to win and gain 25 points, that means that the 34 car has to finish second, because if they finish third, it'll be a 10-point swing, 50-point delta heading to Indy. The RS1 team have the tiebreaker. So tall order for that 34 car to get back into that sort of position here before the checker.
Look in here on the Karas Racing team, and Terry Borchauer driving through a dust storm there. Terry has been quick all season long in this Supra that he shares with Nick Shanny, and right now he leads the AM class, as he's done several times this year. We've seen him qualify up at the very front of the field overall from time to time.
Well, the Supra is a great little platform. It's very competitive in this GT4 class this year. You can see that with Telitz running up third overall and second in Pro-Am right now, aboard a similar machine. So Terry still got the speed. Despite his age, he got that bronze driver grading. He is really, really competitive behind the wheel of this Supra.
This is the battle we saw on the first lap when Anderson had to take that wide line through 15 and 16 as he fought with Alex Prema, veteran sports car racer, former Aussie touring car driver, driven a little bit of everything. These two have been locked together in this battle. This is for 7th and 8th overall, not for class position. Anderson runs 2nd in silver, Prema 6th in Pro-Am.
Yeah, and that's the weird dynamic with these races for the drivers. You can be in a thick of a battle and the team's got to remind you, listen, that is not for class position. So think about the big picture. What do you need to do? But certainly for all of these pro and the Pro-Am lineups, they're just trying to really get to the front, give their AM partner the best opportunity to finish it off in the second part of this race.
Ooh, Andy Lee, he's trying to get by Telitz, who just dropped an overall position to Kenton Cook, as well as a position in the Pro-Am class. So Cook now put him up in the second spot, and the ex-Indy Lights driver, Aaron Telitz, back to third with his hands full of a hard-charging Andy Lee.
Yeah, Kenton Cook and Brian Parr, outsiders in this championship. They set in P5, 41 points back coming in, swept the opening weekend at Sonoma. Did have a great win at Road America in round 2, so they got the potential, but too many races where they didn't score any points has really hurt their championship charger this year.
Elliott Skier lurking behind these two. He runs 6th overall. He started 8th overall, so up a couple of spots as far as that's concerned. And he's 5th in Pro-Am. This is a car that's in the midst of a title hunt.
Tied for the lead right now coming in.
The disappointment yesterday, they were running 2nd ahead of all of their championship rivals when the car suddenly stopped, and we're still not really sure what the problem was.
Been a roller coaster weekend for a number of the title contenders. So competitive. We've had some really good, clean racing here this weekend. Hate to talk too soon, but They got a little bit of a dressing down in the driver's briefing here this weekend by the race stewards, said we need to clean things up, and it seems like everyone's been listening.
It has been, to this point, a great weekend. Still 48 minutes to go. So much at stake as you get deeper into the year. You can just feel the intensity in the paddock ramping up as we get closer to Indianapolis.
Yeah, you see in the driving here as well, Andy Lee has really been forcing the issue on Aaron Telitz. He's forced his way by doing that because he knows championship points are really, really important right now. They sit in P3 coming in. Coming off a brilliant weekend. Runner-up finish yesterday. Elias won the GT America event this morning, so he's going to be on a high when he jumps behind the wheel of that Flying Lizard machine. That's a team that has just gone from strength to strength throughout the course of this season.
Gavin Sanders' march through the field continues, now to 16th overall and up a spot in class, having passed Caleb Bacon for the 4th spot in silver. Still a long way back, though, from where he needs to be. He needs to get up to 2nd, as you talked about earlier, Cal.
Yeah, it's a tall order. But as you know, anything can happen. We saw it yesterday with that RS1 machine, but McAleer up front has stretched that gap to nearly 2 seconds over Jason Hart. But importantly, the nearest silver driver is Anderson back in 7th overall, so he has a massive lead there for class position.
Talked about this between Anderson and Prema, not for class position, but what is for class position is the fight with Prema and John Capestro Dubets, who has run these two down, putting some pressure on the Frenchman.
Again, just shows you that you're kind of deep into the top 10 there overall in the class of the drivers that are competing for those positions. Really showcases how tough this championship is.
For sure. For someone with the pedigree of Prema, who's driven at a very high level for a very long time, back there in the 8th spot overall, just goes to show how strong this field is top to bottom. We've been talking about Gavin Sanders. He's charged through the field, trying to keep McAleer and Filgaris and RS1 honest. His co-driver, Mackay Stevens, is with Amanda.
Kind of looking around down here, guys. I don't think it's going to turn into any issue, but it's super sunny, but there are falling here at
Apologies for that. Issues with reception at that end of the pit lane. Hope we can hear from Mackay Stevens here shortly.
They might need a little curveball in terms of the weather or something if they're going to turn this championship scenario around. Just did not need that qualifying issue yesterday. When you're this far back to start this race, there's just so many competitive cars to try and fight your way through.
Sanders right now, 18 seconds off of the overall leader, McAleer. He's really comparing himself, though, to Anderson, who runs 2nd. He's 9 seconds behind McAleer, so it's about a 9-second gap that he needs to overcome. All things considered, that's not terrible, with still 45 minutes to go.
Yeah, we know how quick Mackay Stevens is when he gets behind the wheel, so yeah, they'll keep digging. They'd love a yellow, just compress this field a little bit and eliminate some of that time delta that they're fighting right now.
And I would suggest that the second part of this race, after the pit stop, when the AMs get in the Pro-Am cars, that's when the task will get a little bit easier for Stevens relative to Sanders, who, when he comes up against a Pro-Am car right now, he's up against another Pro.
Yes, great point.
Now, because of that, most likely these Pro-Am cars will stay out as deep into that window as they can. So it's going to be about 20 minutes or so for Stevens really to make hay. It'll be fun to watch, that's for sure. Let's try it again. Mackay Stevens with Amanda.
Well, and to add to the update of our interview with Mackay, I do see the team rolling in wet tires just in case. There are sprinkles falling here, as sunny as it seems. I'm not sure if it's going to turn into an issue, Mackay, but going back to this point situation, our calculation is you guys will have to finish 2nd here today to push this to Indy. With that task ahead of you on your shoulders, how do you process it?
You accept it. And you know that you have a tremendous support system behind you, and you just believe that the impossible can very well be possible. I think it represents the spirit of motorsport. We dive into the unknown and see what comes of it.
Gavin's already worked his way through halfway of the field. What did you guys talk about prior to the race?
Just giving it our all and letting go of fear, seeing what we can do with the moment, and enjoying every step of the way.
Well, if anything is possible, yesterday definitely proved that, guys.
That's right, the improbable win yesterday when the RS1 car suddenly slowed in the final quarter of the final lap. Good battle breaking out here between a couple of fast cars. We've got Aaron Povaledo there in the 9th spot, Justin Piscatel, who won along with Moise Uretsky in the Pro-Am class yesterday. He runs 10th, and Povaledo just dropped a spot to Jones and now has designs on getting it back.
Kind of puzzled by the pace of the 55 car today. They dominated yesterday, and we saw Uretsky, decent run this morning, top 5, but not what we expected, and we thought he'd maybe sweep the weekend. And similar situation here, Piscatel running in 10th in class, 14th overall. The car that won here less than 24 hours ago.
That's right, Moise Uretsky, what a day it was for him. 2 wins. He had 1 win in this SRO paddock previously. Added 2 in 1 day yesterday. Had a decent run, as you mentioned, in GT America earlier this morning. But he's going to have to do some work in his stint. Right now, back in 10th spot in class.
Andy Lee is absolutely flying. Just laid down a 2:12.8, which is 3/10 quicker than Kenton Cook and about half a second quicker than the Jason Hart car that they're chasing, the Pro-Am leader. There you see him, 4th car in line. Andy Lee trying to pick up a draft there on the similar Aston Martin right in front of him, Kenton Cook.
Behind them, Adam Adelson has separated himself from Prema. That's because John Capestro Dubets has just made the pass. So that is now for position. That is 6th in Pro-Am. That has changed hands. Put the BMW ahead of the Porsche. That's allowed Elliott Skier in the car he shares with Adam Adelson to pull away. And now he's drawn a bead on Aaron Tielitz, who has dropped back over the course of this stint.
It seems like he's really able to release the brake a little bit sooner than the cars that he's around and just really roll speed through apex. Not sure if that's the Cayman or just Alex, just his ability. Now he dives down to the inside. That's going to be tight, trying to keep the front end tucked. Side by side here with JCD. JCD up and over the curb. Nice move by Alex.
Gets that position back, changing hands in successive laps. That 6th position in Pro-Am. JCD now dropping back. Actually, that's Anderson, excuse me, dropping back. JCD runs behind. So it's now Prema, Anderson, and John Capestro Dubets looking to make the pass on Anderson if he can.
Made the same mistake there as well in terms of misidentifying the 2 BMW. Here's James Safronis looking on.
And he'll be loving this battle. Champion racer in his own right. Of course, the man behind GMG, Global Motorsports Group.
Settling down a little bit as Alex has now got that track position back from the BMWs. In front of him, Skier is keeping the pressure on Tielitz. That's a battle for P4 in Pro-Am. Championship leaders or tied coming in here, Elliott Skier, Adam Adelson. Not like what they're seeing up down the road, because Jason Hart is leading Pro-Am 2nd overall in the 47 Nola Sport entry. That's who they're tied for in the championship chase. Whoa.
We've seen this before, haven't we? Almost identical to the first lap. Prema and Anderson side by side through 15 and 16, and Anderson has to go the long way around. This time, he has to settle in behind Prema in the Porsche. John Capestro Dubets, a very interested spectator watching this unfold.
You want to try to work the air there, trying to pull a bit of a draft without getting too much overheating going on with these cars.
Coming up on that pit window already, just 5 minutes or so away from that opening up. It's the 10 minutes, 5 on either side of the halfway mark, where you must come to pit lane and make that driver change. It's likely to be a pretty late call to pit lane for most of these crews, especially the Pro-Am lineups, to keep the pro in the car as long as possible and maximize their pace.
Andy Lee is keeping the pressure on Kenton Cook, but Kenton is he's a tough cookie. So much pace. Great young man.
Gavin Sanders, his charge has stalled somewhat. He's been mired there in the 16th position. He caught Al Carter in the second-placed AM class car from Random Vandals Racing and has been behind him, hasn't been able to pass Al for the past couple of laps. Al's got good pace right now.
He does. He's a feisty competitor as well, always has tremendous pace. A lot of experience now, known him for a number of years, and always got a smile on his face, just loves his racing, gives it 1,000,000%. Got a great partner there with Paul Sparta in the Random Vandals operation.
Had some bad luck yesterday. There was a car in front of them that was about to serve a penalty, and it caught them off guard. The two made contact there at the entrance to pit lane, and a possible class podium went away as a consequence for Random Vandals. It doesn't sound like the car sustained much damage, and they were ready to go today. Al Carter showing good pace right now. 15th overall, second in AM, and not too far behind the class leader, Terry Borcheller.
There again, a lot of these cars just can't afford to sit tucked behind getting that dirty air onto the front end. Just got to really be thinking temperatures, looking at the alarms, watching the gauges, watching the readouts that you're getting from your dash display. It's tough to give up that aerodynamic aid that you get with the car in front of you punching the hole in the air, but you don't want to get these cars falling into that default mode.
Not as big of a deal. The aero here in GT4 relative to GT3. Still, though, so important to get that slipstream if at all possible. But to your point, a GT4 car relative to a GT3 car much closer to its road-going counterpart, and extreme heat can be a problem. Any of these manufacturers, as they roll out updates to their current cars or debut new ones, that's been a focus, it seems like, making the cars operate at a higher level in extreme temperatures, whether that's cold or in the extreme heat.
Yeah, for sure, it's a factor. Thielett's doing a really nice job here, looking super tidy with this Supra. If Ski's got anything for him, he really needs to try and dig deep here and make some ground up here in the Pro-Am standings. 6th overall, 5th in class, Elliott Skier with the car we're looking at right there. Primaz chasing him down as well, so he's not only looking forward, he's looking in that rear view mirror as well, watching Alex come after him.
It's interesting. Prema had given up a couple spots, but now seems to have regained his pace and is catching that fight for 4th and 5th in Pro-Am ahead of him, and he runs 6th. This is the battle for the Pro-Am podium, effectively. Kitten Cook and Andy Lee 2nd and 3rd, respectively. This happening nearly 3 seconds behind the class leader, Jason Hart, who's just a little bit up the road from these two who have been dueling since the very beginning of this race. And Kenton Cook has been able to keep Andy Lee behind him, but Andy has not relinquished his attack.
All that load is going to go to the shoulders of their AM partners. For Jason Hart, it's going to be Scott Noble. For Kenton Cook, it's going to be Brian Putt. For Andy Lee, it's going to be Elias Sabo coming off a victory here this morning. Everyone just trying to set themselves up to be in position as we head to Indianapolis in 2 weeks' time for the championship finale.
Now mere seconds away from the pit window opening. Who will blink first? Who might use that to their advantage, especially if you look at the silver class or the AM class, depending on how they've elected to divvy up their drivers. Might be a chance to play some strategy games here in this race.
I'd be surprised if we see much movement from the front of the pack. I mean, McAleer's got a great partner in Eric Filgaris. I think they may want to just keep that track position. For the pros in the Pro-Am lineups, they're going to stay out there and maximize that drive time, as you said earlier, Ryan. So everyone now starting to get ready just in case. There's Elias. She has a fresh race suit, whether it's still smelling of champagne. There's Stephen Costello behind him, team manager for Flying Lizard Motorsports. Had the opportunity when I first came over to the States to work with Stephen. He was a mechanic for me in Formula Ford and Sports 2000. There's Johann Schwartz jumping in. Can he repeat what he did yesterday at monster pace with this machine?
Yes, he did. Handed the class lead to Todd Brown after his stint They're a little bit further down the order here today than they were yesterday, but with the rapid Dane, Johann Schwartz behind the wheel, keep a close eye on that Rooster Hall Racing car to make a charge up through the field. Overall leader, this will be his first look at an open pit lane, but again, don't expect to see him make that call. The pace of Stephen McAleer all season long has been the talk of the paddock.
It really has, and not just in this championship. He's having a brilliant season, and he's always had tremendous speed. Scotsman came over here, made the move, has networked brilliantly in terms of his coaching with drivers, creating opportunities for himself, but this year he's put it all together. I think we all knew his pace, but boy, has he been on top form this year.
Everything he's jumped in, whether it's a Cayman or GT3 cars, LMP3 cars, he's driven a little bit of everything this year, and it seems like more often than not he's winning.
Likes to do his flying on the racetrack and not in the air, we understand.
That's right. An interesting chat with Stephen. He's a little nervous when it comes to air travel. No nervousness, though, on display here. This is the man chasing him, at least as far as the overall lead is concerned. Jason Hart, who got that long-awaited championship in this series last year in the Pro-Am class with Matt Travis. They came so close in back-to-back years, 2019 and 2020. Put it all together finally last year in a dominant performance, winning 9 times, 11 podiums for those two en route to the championship. This is an interesting story. Tim Horrell, you can see him being carried to the wall. He drives with hand controls after suffering a debilitating injury early in life, but has not cost him a chance to pursue his passion, driving a race car. He and Rafa Matos, who's getting aboard that car now, had their best run of the season yesterday.
See how important the cooling is. You got that air blower there on the front end there as the car sits stationary and not got the air pushing through those radiator inlets, just trying to keep everything as cool as they can while they do with the pit stop. 85 seconds is the minimum stop time between pit in and pit out, including the driver change. No tire changes as part of the GT4 Sprint X regulations. And everyone has to be on pit lane or serve their pit stop by the time the clock winds down to 25 minutes to go here today.
New co-driver this year for Jason Hart, as we mentioned, and McAleer is in. So they make the strategy call with 31 minutes to go. They still had a couple of laps in hand if they wanted to utilize Stephen McAleer's pace. Instead, they come down the pit lane, and Eric Filgaris will take over.
And I think we've just got 2 brilliant drives. We talked about McAleer, what sort of season he's put together, but for Eric Filgaris, he grabbed this opportunity with both hands. Hasn't made one single mistake that I know of all season long. Super young man. He and his dad Manny for a number of years, and great support this season, and he's making the most of it.
He has burst onto the scene, and everyone has noticed the talent that he possesses. Had a chance to ask him last week, what does next year hold for you? And he said, I can't tell you, but he gave me a big wink. So that might be a good indication of something exciting. Good driver exchange there from McAleer to Filgaris. Now they're just looking at the stopwatch, and they will release that car, but not risk running afoul of the minimum time that is required to be spent on pit lane. 7 seconds here this weekend. Now he's released. You can see the Conquest car is in behind. That's Mackay Stevens, who's climbing aboard, replacing Gavin Sanders, and his pursuit of second place and any hope for a Silver Class championship is set to begin.
I'm not quite sure. There looked like some miscommunication there. I mean, it's a lengthy stop there, unless the may have an issue with our data that's given us the stop time for McAleer, because the clock continues to tick for them right now on our screen.
Yeah, there's no indication that they would have been running afoul of that. The Conquest guys just did it in 84 seconds, so 85 seconds, I guess, must be the minimum delta. Apologies if I said 87 earlier. So they are in good shape. They used their joker here today, trying to play that for any advantage they can gain. They know they have a mountain to climb, having to start at the back of the grid today after a engine issue cost them Q2 yesterday.
Jason Hart continues to lead. He stays out on the racetrack, digging deep into this pit stop window. What they can do, they're going to have to be in next time. I think it'll be super squeaky tight to try and eke 2 more laps out for Jason Hart's run, but maybe possible, but that would be really kind of fine if you have any sort of bobble on that in lap. It can really burn you.
That's right, we've seen it before. A spin or it off or getting caught in traffic, if it delays you more than you anticipated, if you're just a second late getting to pit lane, even fractions of a second outside that window, it's a drive-through penalty, and effectively that's the end of your race. Good battle here still between Cook and Lee. There's been no let-up. Andy Lee would love to get this spot away before his time in the car is done.
Yeah, they've really got that car hooked up. Andy's doing a brilliant job behind the wheel. This is really important here. He'd love to get that track position. I don't think there's any way that they can eke 2 more laps out for the leaders right now, reevaluating the time on the clock. So I think they'll be in this time for Jason Hart.
Prema out, Logan in after a great opening stint from the Frenchman. We are fixated, though, on this duel between Kenton Cook and Andy Lee. They run 2nd and 3rd overall, 2nd and 3rd in class. Jason Hart, the leader in class, is that white and yellow Porsche just up the road.
Yeah, so expect to see all of these cars hitting pit lane next time through. These cars have served their stop. See anyone who's running a foul. A few people using their jokers. 34 car certainly did that. 72 were landed to Girazzi. The Bimmerwell car of Devin Jones over to James Walker Jr.
Long stop for the winners yesterday in Pro-Am. Piscatell to Uretsky. They were 5 seconds over the minimum. Could be costly for them as they seek to win 2 races here this weekend. And as anticipated, the leaders in Pro-Am are in to make their driver change. Jason Hart will turn it over to Scott Noble from the lead in class as they battle for a championship. Kenton Cook will give over to Brian Putt. And Elliott Skier to Adam Adelson. A little bit of a close move there as Andy Lee came in just across the nose of the B Sport car. Andy Lee will give way to Elias Sabo for Flying Lizard.
Super little battle here between Kenton and Andy during that stint. Who's going to have the edge? Does anyone cut a little bit finer here in terms of this pit stop execution and can gain some track position?
One crew member going around checking tire pressures. You can bleed off pressure if you choose, but that's about the only adjustment that you can make. Good clean exchange there from Cook to Putt. This is going to be interesting. These two that were dueling on track, they're parked right next to each other in the pits. There goes Putt. Oh, and Sabo a little bit delayed releasing. That's going to give Brian Putt a bit of an edge, and look at that. He's actually closed in there on the leader in class. Scott Noble now driving the NOLA Sport Porsche.
Yeah, let's look at that NOLA Sport pit stop time. I think there may have been a little issue there. Let's wait and see.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Just a 2.5 seconds, 86.4. And certainly for Brian Putt, they executed the perfect stop. They're using their joker, 84.6, so 4/10 underneath the minimum.
Just a little hang up from Andy Lee to Sabo, about 1.6 seconds over the minimum. So that explains why that gap has grown. And suddenly now it's NOLA Sport versus B Sport for position. Flying Lizard is backed off of that battle somewhat.
Amanda is reporting teams are still monitoring radar down there and feel there is some weather in the air. Could be close before the checkered flag here this afternoon. So that could certainly be the curveball that Mackay Stevens, Gavin Sanders need to somehow arrest the pace of this leading RS1 machine that has the championship lead.
Wouldn't that be something? As if the drama late in the day yesterday wasn't enough, could Mother Nature throw us a curveball? Phil Garris has cycled through to the overall lead. That's where he was running when the pit window opened, or where that car was running with Stephen McAleer driving. Noble runs second overall, but leads in Pro-Am, and he's been on the pace right away. Really impressive pace from Scott Noble right out of the pits. And Brian Putt doing his best to give chase, but has not quite been able to reel him in.
There's Sabo there in the backdrop as well. That's a really nice start by the B-Sport team. Has given him a handy lead and gap over Elias Sabo.
Update on the Conquest car. Gavin Sanders started it at the very back of the pack. They made the early call to the pit lane. Mackay Stevens, therefore, maybe not in as much traffic when he came out. And he now runs up in 9th overall and has gained another spot in class. Getting around the Kevin Conway-driven Smooge Racing Toyota Supra. So I've got Stevens now in the 3rd position in silver. He needs to get up one more spot to remain mathematically in the hunt, headed to the final 2 races at Indianapolis.
Yep. Keep digging. Smith is not that far down the road.
It's been a great drive, though, from that pairing. Sanders and Stevens, good strategy call from Eric Bachelard and company to put them in a position to go on the attack here in the final 22 minutes. Battles all over this track. That's Todd Coleman coming under attack from Austin Smith, not for class position. Smith is the 2nd place car in silver. That is the quarry now for Mackay Stevens, and you can see Stevens entering the picture.
He's right there, just trying to make it happen. Somehow he's got to get to that BMW, elbows his way inside Coleman.
A 3-wide moment into Christensen corner. One of the TRG cars was caught out there on the outside. Oh, Coleman is off, bouncing over the curbs. Able to gather it back up.
Regroups, back underway, but has opened up the door for Stevens to see that position that he has to grab before the checkered flag here this afternoon to keep the championship, at least on paper, in touch going to Indy.
He knew what the mission was right from the drop of the green. They had to get to 2nd at the very least, at least assuming that RS1 would win this race. And they were starting at the front while Conquest was at the back. And he can see the target now out the windshield. Behind him, it's a hornet's nest of Pro-Am cars with a couple silver class cars mixed in.
Just waiting for everything to settle down here after these pit stops, see the overlap between the various classes in this race. It is crazy. For the drivers too, they probably need a little bit of help over the radio to know who is who. At the end of the year, you typically know which car numbers are in your class and which are not, but even so, it can get confusing when you're behind the wheel just trying to identify how hard do I push, how much do I need to make this position.
Yeah, this is one of those circumstances here. Todd Coleman's got a silver class car behind him, I believe, or is that? No, I'm not sure that's right. I think that is Tom Capizzi, actually, who's behind him, so that would be for position. The Smooge Racing car is the one that's the interloper. That's a silver class car running right behind this pairing.
This is the 52. This is Capizzi. Coleman's just trying to get into his rhythm here. Been in the car about 5 minutes. Trying to find some clean air and settle in. Great opening stanza from Aaron Thielitz, as you'd expect. Top-notch pro behind the wheel.
Nice move there into 1 by Capizzi to take the 5th spot in Pro-Am away. This is for 2nd, and this is to remain in championship contention in the silver class. Austin Smith has that position right now, and Mackay Stevens knows their entire season depends on him wresting this spot away.
Yeah, it's still going to be a tall order, but you'd love to head to Indy with at least an outside shot at the championship still.
This is one of 2 drive-thrus that was handed down by race control for pit lane speed violations. Jane Logan serving it here. Prema started this car. The other car that received the penalty was the 10 car. Running a little further down in the order. Yes, it was. Tim Horrell started that car. And it looks like they've already served that penalty. Smith is wide.
Nearly dropped a wheel there. You don't normally see a problem running that wide through that particular corner. That's turn 12.
19 minutes to go, which means there are 19 minutes for Mackay Stevens to find a solution to the riddle that Austin Smith is posing him right now.
Smith's hanging tough. He doesn't want to give up that track position. They're currently 4th in the championship picture, some 19 points back of Kevin Conway and John Jesbray.
Down to Amanda in the pits.
Standing by with Andy Lee, and there was a nice exchange between him and Kenton Cook after that stint with each other. And you think about the respect that drivers have in this paddock. How fun is it when you're battling these guys out here, Andy?
I mean, Kenton is so good, and so it was just a blast out there running with him. I mean, that B Sport team is strong. They've really developed that car, and we're trying to catch up to them, really, and it's just awesome to be back, you know.
A great day for Elias Sabo already here today, winning in GT America. When you guys planned out this race, what did you tell him before this stint?
I mean, I told him it's qualifying. I mean, there's nobody up front to hold you up, so you just run qualifying lap after qualifying lap, and that's exactly what he did. And he was so strong. I'm so happy for him to get that monkey off his back. You know, he's been so close to a podium all year, and to get on the podium for the first time, but with a win, is even more special.
Yeah, and he's certainly getting the job done. See, Mackay Stevens has gotten around. Austin Smith there for position, so that's important in terms of keeping that championship alive. But getting back to that battle in Pro-Am with Sabo, his last lap was over a second faster than Brian Putt, so he is catching the B Sport entry. And Noble's a little bit further down the road, and he's a bit quicker than him as well. So he's got potential here, Elias Sabo does, to do some damage in these points today.
Could it be a 2-win day for Elias, having already won today in GT America? He's 3rd. Certainly shaping up to be another successful run. He's got Brian Putt in the sights, but this was a massive move, and it happened on this last lap. Mackay Stevens found a way past Austin Smith. He now runs 2nd in the silver class. And now you look, how far back is he? Yeah, they're gonna need a yellow and a quick one to have any hope of mounting a challenge on RS1 and Eric Filgueres, who has a massive lead, 10 seconds over 2nd overall, but the gap back to Stevens crucially 28 seconds with 16 minutes to go.
Yeah, they need a miracle, but they're certainly keeping the miracle open in terms of the championship heading to Indy if they maintain that 2nd position.
Here's the AM class battle. This is shaping up to be good. It's Nick Shanny taking over from Terry Borcheller, and Paul Sparta there in the Random Vandals BMW. He's stalking him right there in the mix, and Geraci is 3rd in class. That is the car just behind. So the top 3 in AM, 1, 2, 3 on the road.
Yeah, Geraci's got some pace too. Can he get by both these guys? Paul Sparta starting to put the pressure on Nick Shanny here. He doesn't have the experience. Sparta to the inside, grabs the lead.
Sparta takes P1 away. The BMW flexing its muscle in the straight line down the Oldman Straight. The class lead to Random Vandals Racing. Gizmo the raccoon will love that. That's their little mascot. And Paul Sparta, he grabbed the lead and he pulled away. Now, Shanny actually has an out-of-class car. That's Damon Sherjizit, excuse me, running behind him. Then you'll find Geraci behind him. So should have a battle for 2nd breaking out here shortly. In the AM class, which has been hotly contested this season, behind the championship winning pairing of Clay and Postins, who have dominated this class all year. They had their misfortune very early in the running here, and it does not look like they've recovered.
Yeah, there's Geraci, the 2nd of the white, or mainly white-colored Supras there. Slightly different liveries, look pretty similar head on, but on the side you can see the Crook Speed insignia there. So he clears Sejizan and now chases after Shanny in front of him. Shanny's doing a nice job, doesn't have a ton of experience. He's improving his pace as this season has progressed as well.
Oh, and a spin for Sabo. That was while running up towards the front in the 3rd position. How far did he drop with that miscue?
Does he have an issue? The car still looks loose. Should he picked up any marbles when he ran off? Let's take another look at it, see how it developed.
Oh, he went to the inside, bailed out of the move, got on the dusty stuff and went around. It's an abrupt curb, though, to have to go over like that. It's not designed to be crossed from the backside.
Yeah, the car just looked loose when he got back on the racetrack, but now it looks pretty balanced as he heads through turn 17 there.
That was an optimistic move in that part of the racetrack. You don't see many passes there, but it goes to show the level of confidence Elias is driving with right now.
I think he just rushed up on Brian there and got a little bit wrong, and then just kind of took the escape right there, bailed on it, and lost control. Filgueras up front, stretching this lead under no pressure whatsoever. But right now, I think the biggest pressure is just thinking about what has gone wrong in the late stages of the last two races. And that mechanical issue at Road America where they didn't finish, and then yesterday, as Eric told Amanda earlier in the show, some kind of fuel pump issue starved them of the precious last couple of liters there to get to the finish.
It was heartbreaking, but they had had such a strong season to that point. Yes, you miss out on a race win, and every win is precious, but they still are in firm control of the championship and had a chance to clinch. But give credit to the Conquest boys, Mackay Stevens and Gavin Sanders, to come from the very back to 6th overall and 2nd in silver. They needed to run 6th overall to be 2nd in silver. It keeps them within striking distance, and at least if it stays this way, they can go to Indy thinking that they have a chance.
Done all they can do. You couldn't ask for any more. They haven't had the pace to really threaten the RS1 car here this weekend in terms of just pure pace and speed to get by them. So they need a little bit of bad luck to fall the RS1 team's way again if they're going to tighten things up any further. But it's going to be a long shot, but you never know.
You never know. As we learned yesterday, it's been a great story to watch all day as they've rallied through the field, and the man that got them started on their way to the front is Gavin Sanders, Amanda.
Gavin just said a yellow flag definitely would be ideal if they could get it, but talk about the performance that he had here today. I told you off camera that the guys were complimenting you on that feat. You came in P14 after starting back on the grid. When you set out this journey for you today, Gavin, what was the biggest key?
Just to put it all out there and give kind of a performance based on pure confidence put in me by the team. And this whole season, just backing the experiences and taking every little thing that's been tossed our way and putting it to effect to make as little mistake as possible. I think that was pretty well shown. Obviously, there's always room for improvement, but it was a good first try coming last to somewhere, right? So pretty happy about it, and hopefully Indy we can have a further back start position.
Gavin now in second place would mean that this would push to Indy. When you look at his driving style and what he is capable of, he just seems such a committed person. How much trust do you have in Mackay?
It's absolutely full and like the utmost trust between teammates. I think there's such a strong bond in this driver pairing in kind of listening to each other, whether one is faster and one is slower or one pass more cars out there. We're always there's so much respect, and it's a true brotherhood more than anything. It's just spectacular, and I couldn't ask for a better person to share this experience.
It has been a great pairing, that's for sure. And you see Farrow on the side of that car, right by the number 34. John Farrow deserves a lot of credit, a businessman with a passion for this, who started an initiative last year to help give aspiring drivers with talent but without the financial backing that it takes to go racing a platform to showcase their skills. And when we saw this program jump onto the scene last year with Mackay Stevens and Colin Mullen, a couple of guys who fall into that category, we know they're quick, they just needed that chance to showcase it, and they did. They rattled off a bunch of wins. Very similar story here this year in some respects, with Mackay carrying over, but then the young Canadian Gavin right there as well, who has very limited experience to draw upon, but has been a quick study.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a great fill-in for Colin. I'm not sure what Colin's up to this year. In fact, I mean, he certainly performed very well last year. I mean, they're immediately sitting on the podium, then went on that win streak last year. And but also a testimony to Eric Bachelot and that Conquest Racing team. They are a first-class operation. We've seen it there this weekend with Fanatec GT. Tremendous performance and debut yesterday with a solid run from Manny Franco and Alessandro Balzan. So all of the key ingredients are there. Great drivers, great support, and a great team.
This This is the second place car in the AM class. Anthony Giranzi has got up into second. Nick Shanny has dropped down to fourth, and Custodio Toledo, that is the Mercedes just behind this Supra. We got a brief glimpse of a moment ago. That's where Custodio Toledo is running in the third spot. This would be a first podium, I believe, on the season for Custodio Toledo. He's had some points finishing positions, but this would be a nice result here for the Brazilian.
Here's that car with the Brazilian, Paulo Kakaski. Knew him from many moons ago, running Formula Ford for Van Diemen over in Europe. He's a star in Japan, so he brings a lot to the table in terms of speed and experience as well.
The winner of the 1991 Formula 3 Japan Championship, Paulo Kakaski. Goes back a little ways, but had been out of this for a while, been doing some coaching and things of that nature. Jumped at the chance to hop back behind the wheel here this year, alongside Custodio Toledo, with whom he's been working for a little while.
This is really the perfect championship for that driver coach, sitting in the same car with their student, with the AM driver, with the gentleman driver, has a lot to learn, and just giving them all of the data points to work from. So it's really great, a great opportunity for those drivers who are trying to earn a living and stay in the professional lane, yet at the same time just elevating guys who really have little or no experience to learn their trade. And we've seen it, there's so many examples now, Ryan, that we can talk about in terms of over the last year or the last 2 or 3 seasons. We saw guys like Sean Quinlan a couple of years ago, where they went from showing moments of pace to suddenly being really solid racers and ultimately winning a championship.
Sabo back on it after the spin, and he's making progress once again. Chasing Brian Putt, he cut 1.2 seconds off on the last lap. Let's check it now, and Putt did a 2:16.7. Sabo did a 2:14.8. So yeah, he's got the pace, but does he have the time with under 7 minutes to go?
He does, with that sort of delta. A couple of laps at that pace, he'll be right there again.
Now, traffic had something to do with it. You can see them working through Jay Logan. And they're going to have traffic coming from behind, too, because Mackay Stevens is still wringing the neck of his Mercedes as he tries to move forward and maybe put something that amounts to pressure on Eric Filgaris' shoulders. Logan making way for the faster traffic to come through. Now Sabo uninhibited, at least in front, in his pursuit of Putt. Noble continues to lead the Pro-Am class by nearly 2 seconds, running in second overall. Race Vision, powered by AWS, corner speeds at turn 17, and his Sunset Bend coming onto the front straightaway. Interesting mix of Toyota and Mercedes that have the advantage through that corner.
You look at the speeds there, it's pretty remarkable, because typically you only got 2 wheels on the ground.
Bumpiest part of the track?
Yeah, it is, and it's just really difficult because there's a long, long corner. You can't see the exit, so it's all about positioning the race car as precise as you can be. But if you hit a bump a little bit differently, it throws you across. You catch a bump that you're not used to, don't know it's there. So it really takes many, many laps to really feel comfortable through there. Obviously, the car setup will give you that comfort factor as well. Need something that's pretty compliant there, but then you may be giving up speed in other areas of the racetrack. So it's all about compromise with racing.
Again, peeking in at Giranzi, second in AM. Toledo, third in AM, running pretty similar lap times, just a couple tenths between the two of them. Stevens has passed Sabo.
Sabo needs to throw out a rope and hang on to Mackay here and see if he can chase down Brian Putt.
Yep.
Again, these positions are so important in the championship for Sabo and his teammate Andy Lee. Very much in the championship picture. Putt and Kenton Cook came into this race in 5th position. 15 points back of the Sabo-Lee combination, who sit tied for 3rd. So they're not going to want to give it up. They'll still feel that they can go to Indy with an outside shot at the championship as well.
Brian Putt now, it's about losing as little time as possible as Stevens comes through. Stevens signaling his intentions, flashing those headlights. Will Putt give it up? Ooh, he is not keen to.
That's really tight. Almost contact there, which would have turned Brian. Guy's got to be careful here.
It's not doing him any
Debris
favors.
was run over there that was laying on the side of the road. Both Mackay and Sabo ran over that, looked like.
Doesn't help Brian's lap times at all.
Gerazi's
Fighting.
in.
Oh, this is from second in class. Tough break here for the Krug Speed team, and you can see.
It's a late call. Team weren't ready. Trying to identify what is the issue. Must have an alarm come up or something on the dash, I would assume.
Frustration evident on the crew members over the wall.
That puts Shanny back up into a podium spot in the M class.
Yes, it does. Johann Schwartz is coming too. He's fifth. Well, he will be fourth. Not sure how far back he is, but
he's not that far back. He's got potential for a podium.
We know he's got the pace.
Yeah, it's a great call. But Putt is making Mackay Stevens work for this, isn't he?
No question. Stevens, he's gonna try it. To the inside in Sunset. Putt says no, not this time.
It's like he's just got out of sync a little bit with his pace advantage. You kind of suddenly get out of your rhythm, and it's like oh, I caught him by over a second a lap, and now I can't get by. If you don't just make it happen immediately, you kind of get caught in no man's land, and you're kind of half a step ahead instead of a full step. Now he plows it down the inside.
Well, even with those two squabbling over an insignificant overall position, Sabo did not reel him in at all on that previous lap, but it's all changed here in turn one. Putt's momentum seems to have been arrested, and here comes Elias Sabo.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of laps here. See if he can chase him down.
Under 2 minutes to go. Overall leader will get the white flag next time by, with a 23-second lead over the next closest.
We haven't really seen him much today. We saw his teammate a lot at the start of this race. Scott Noble, great job. He is leading the Pro-Am class, and that is really key. They came into this round of the championship tied for the lead with Adelson and Skier. They're running fourth in class, so it'll be a huge boost to them. Be a 13-point advantage leaving here today, heading to Indianapolis. So for Jason Hart, can he repeat as a champion with a different teammate? Following up on the championship year he put together with Matt Travis.
Well, he's got the team to do it, that's for sure. John Shurik and Nola Sport, one of the premier Porsche Cayman teams, really just Porsche teams in the country. Very active in Porsche single make racing as well as here. They've won multiple championships, drivers championships and teams championships here in SRO over the past several seasons. This RS1 team too falls in that category. Great prep shop here from here in Florida. White flag for Eric Filgaris. Won't clinch the title, but they've done just about everything but. Assuming this one holds, remember it all went awry for them on the final lap yesterday.
Yeah, it'd be too much to think that they could have a problem this late into going 2 days in a row, but this team has kept the pressure on, done everything they could from the very tail end of the pack after that qualifying issue yesterday for Gavin Sanders, excuse me. He and Mackay Stevens have put in a tremendous run to get the car up to the runner-up position right now. And for Scott Noble, great run here today.
Yes, it has been, and it all got started with a great opening stint from Jason Hart. He's taken Scott under his wing here this year after several seasons racing alongside Matt Travis. And Noble has responded. Been a good year for that pairing, and they will head to Indy with the championship lead as they run. Oh, what a celebration this would be for Random Vandals. They've had their fair share of close calls this year. Just hasn't quite been meant to be. They've also had some misfortune. Paul Sparta now just one lap away from picking up a win.
Toledo now runs second in class in the AM class, and Collingwood is now up to third, but Schwartz is only half a second back, so it's going to be a fierce battle on this last lap, I think, for that final podium spot in the AM class.
Oh boy, so much still to play for here on the last lap of the race. Paul Sparta, this team picked up its first class win here last year, winning the first of the 2 races, finished second in the second one, third in points a year ago. Year 2 has not gone according to plan. They are closing in on a first win of 2022.
Yeah, started the season off strong with 2 fourth-place finishes, but yet to see a podium.
No mechanical issues this time for RS1. Eric Filgaris and Stephen McAleer make amends for yesterday. They win race 2 of the weekend at Sebring International Raceway and head to Indy with a massive lead in the silver class points. Also set to take a lead into Indianapolis, Nova Sport. Jason Hart, Scott Noble through the final corner and to the line, race winners at Sebring. Stevens crosses the line there, 3rd overall from the very back of the grid, 2nd in the silver class.
Sabo
That's big
second.
for them. Sabo has jumped to the 2nd spot. He made the pass of Brian Putt. In fact, Putt must be in strife. He's just dropped a spot to Adamson. He's dropped a spot to Smith. He will finish 4th now in the Pro-Am class, 7th overall. Something went wrong,
yeah.
and there is bodywork damage askew on the Elias Sabo car. What might that mean? And now Paul Sparta. After a frustrating season full of twists, turns, ups, and downs, encapsulated by the issue yesterday, they put that all behind them. Paul Sparta, Al Carter, and Random Vandals Racing take the AM class win in race 2 at Sebring.
Great job, guys. They'll be excited. They know how to party.
I am very curious about what transpired in the fight for 2nd in Pro-Am. You see that hood damage on Sabo. That was not there when we saw the car last.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I am.
And that could be really, really pivotal if there is any pointing of the finger to someone being responsible, if there was any contact with he and Putt.
Crown Strike fastest lap of the race. Stephen McAleer early on set the tone at 2:12.3. The next closest was 0.6 of a second off of that pace. So, yeah, that RS1 team, they've got it figured out. And that's what we've seen the bulk of the season. Filgaris and McAleer have had the pace, and it's been hard for anyone else to match them.
Yeah, and that car was completely pulled apart, I understand, in tech last night, looking to see if everything was completely 100% on spec, and it's just a great combination, great driving, great prep. Let's take a look here. Here comes Sabo. Oh, Putt just gets a little bit wide. Putt has lost speed. He has lost pace. So a lot of cars running out of fuel late in the going yesterday. But he just suddenly lost pace there at the finish. So a nice drive by Sabo. There's no argy-bargy involved. That was legit. And that really gives them a great championship shot as well, heading to Indy.
Perfectly clean and a great result for Elias Sabo, who finishes 2nd in both races in GT4 America this weekend alongside Andy Lee within the Pro-Am class. And that puts them within striking distance of this pairing, Noble and Hart, who will enter Indy with the points advantage. For Putt and Cook, though, to lose 2 spots there on the final lap, that is a big swing for them.
Yeah, I'm just getting a note on our app here where the teams can report in that the B-Sport Racing team is saying there was damage from contact with car number 8, so maybe earlier in the lap there'd been something happen, but certainly not in that shot that we saw as they came on the Ullman straight there on the final lap.
Well, a lot to sift through as we've reached the end of the road at Sebring for Pirelli GT4 America. Just 2 races remain in 2 weeks at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Provisional results, Filgaris and McAleer once again the overall winners. Came so close to a weekend sweep, but just a little bit short yesterday with The mechanical issue late in the going. Jason Hart and Scott Noble, a crucial win for them in the Pro-Am class. Stevens and Sanders from the very back finished third overall, do just enough to stay in the game.
Really, that moment late yesterday was the game changer. Otherwise, we would be celebrating a championship win for Magdalene and Filgaris. But it was a 14-point swing on the last corner of the race here yesterday.
Very true. Further down, you see Sparta and Carter, the winners in the AM class. How about Custodio Toledo, his first career podium in pro racing? Gets it done alongside Paolo Karkoski, excuse me. They come home second, and the BGB team third in the AM class. Johann Schwartz went on to charge in his stint just off the podium, finishing in the fourth spot ahead of Nick Shanny. Good result for Nick and Terry Borcheller. Fifth in class, 17th overall here today in race 2. So much to sift through, and I imagine some happy folks to chat with down in Victory Circle, and we'll hear from our overall winners first, Amanda.
Well, back on the top step with 9 wins this season is the RS1 Porsche. And when you dominate a season, it's no secret that there's a bullseye right on your back. As we head into Indy, this was pushed one more event. How are you guys handling all the pressure that's on you from the other competitors?
Yeah, well, what a weekend. I think we've certainly had a target since the beginning of the year. A lot of pressure. As we know, we saw yesterday, anything can happen. So, when I got in the car, Steven gave me a fantastic position, fantastic car by these RS1 guys. It's Community Beer Works' 10th anniversary this year, so we're proud of them. It's just about managing it, not taking extra risks, just managing the pace and bringing it home. I think that's what we need to do today. We did it.
Makes it sound almost simple, but we know it's anything but.
Yeah, it's cut and paste, really. They've been doing it a lot this season.
Now, that'll be a happy group there with RS1, Stephen McAleer and Eric Filgaris. The job became a little bit easier. They'd love to have it clinched today, but they know what they need to do, and certainly the ball is in their court.
Yeah, I think really just finishing a race at Indy, either one will be enough for them to score enough points to seal the deal. But again, we keep saying it all day long, with championships on the line, anything can happen in racing. So, but they're definitely the favorites. They deserve the title. Been a tremendous effort by Conquest to keep them honest, but certainly the RS1 team have been the benchmark team this season, along with their driver pairing.
Back down to Amanda. Let's hear from our Pro-Am winners.
And Scott Noble just said to me off camera, that was a lot of fun. You guys will head into Indy with the points lead, and that battle between you guys and Premier, how thick do you think it's going to be when we get on ground there?
Oh, it's going to be big. You could see Adam charging from behind back there. Luckily, my pro gapped us a little bit there, and we stayed out front, so it was an exciting day. We felt like we had a chance to win today, and we kind of pulled it through. And thanks to the No Sport team, thanks to my family for letting me race, and thanks to Jason. Love you, buddy. Yep.
Jason, I've been analyzing your body language this weekend, walking up and down pit lane, and to see victory here today, does that release any of the pressure for you, or what do you think will happen here in Indy?
100% of it. I mean, I wanted to win here so bad because, we're chasing a championship. Everybody wants to win. And Nola Sport worked on this car a lot last night and gave us a steezy chicken this morning. The thing was rolling. And Scott had an amazing finishing stint. Without his finishing stint, we don't win. So great job, Scott.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Phenomenal stuff. It takes two, that's for sure, but it fell on Scott's shoulders there to bring it home, and he did.
He really did. Solid job. We didn't really focus on him. There's such a battle behind between Pat and Sabo there, but he just kept a solid focus forward and brought it home. As Jason said, he has to do his part as well, and they have a nice championship lead.
Well, the other element to that swap in position on the final lap, and whatever happened to Brian Putt, not only did he lose a couple of positions, but Adelson gained one because of that. And that's another little area there where Adelson and company can kind of stay there in the mix because of the way that broke for them.
Yeah, they're only 10 points back.
Down to Amanda. One more time, let's hear from our AM class winners.
Paul, I just talked to you yesterday about the adversity that this team has faced this season back here in the winner's circle here at Sebring, at a place that's been good to you guys in the past. How sweet is it finding victory again?
It's incredibly sweet. I mean, the team worked so hard. We've been working so hard. We've had great pace all year, and the results didn't show it. And today was just like what everybody needed. It was just a fantastic day, and we didn't put a wheel wrong, and we were there at the end. Got a little help, but I'll take it.
Well, I have to tell you, your teammate Al Carter couldn't even look at a TV screen towards the end of that race. And when you knew that you guys had the victory here, Al, just talk about the emotion that went through you.
Yeah, we have been, it's been a little bit of a long season and not getting our pace and not getting things done. You know, it puts a lot of pressure on you to get those results. And today, but one thing you have to look at Paul's improvement and what the stints that he put in this weekend were phenomenal. He should be very proud of himself. I am. And, you know, we have so many people to thank. And I actually want to say hi to my fiance Sunny and Lil Ever Miss her, wish she was here. And of course V-Brick, they're a big sponsor, so vbrick.com, they help video in the enterprise business, so all of that, and we appreciate it, and the series we love, but it feels good to be back where we belong. So.
Great result for that team. They have been fighting hard to get into this position. Yeah. They've had good pace, just haven't had the luck this year, and able to capitalize today.
Yeah, they certainly did. Great result, but at the start, it was all about RS1. McAleer off from the front. Jason Hart keeping him honest there for the opening stanza, however.
That he did. It was a fierce fight behind those two as well, all three classes. Big moment there for the champions-elect of the AM class. They were out early.
One moment here coming through Tower Corner, off and on.
Zach Anderson.
Foul, and then a bit of argy-bargy, little brush there through zones 15, 16.
And Alex Brema had a couple moments like that throughout the course of the race. Mackay Stevens forcing his way through late in the going. They started at the back, needed to finish second in silver in order to stay in the championship picture. Stevens knew it, and he was not waiting around. This was the big move here as he was working on the Austin Smith-driven BMW, able to pull up alongside and complete that pass out of Christensen corner.
That was pivotal, just keeping their championship hopes alive for 2 more weeks.
For the lead in the AM class, Nick Shanny forced to relinquish it as Paul Sparta charged his way up through the field late in the going. At the very front, though, RS1 back to their winning ways. They pick up the win in race 2 with Filgaris and McAleer leading the charge, and they are now just 1 weekend away from clinching a coveted championship. That's a wrap for us here from Sebring. For everyone involved, Calvin and Amanda, my name is Ryan Marine. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in 2 weeks in Indianapolis.